prior to any issuance of building permit if this application were to be approved. That is included as a stipulation in staff's recommendation in the staff report. The applicant is aware of these comments from the city engineer and of the requirement that the report be done prior to the issuance of any building permits, and the applicant has agreed to that stipulation. Additionally, the future access road to the north that would connect to 191st Street is proposed to cross a floodway area for which a bridge or culvert must be constructed. Additionally, should this project be approved, a floodplain development permit with a no-rise certification must be provided along with all required state and federal permits. Lighting, so the Unified Development Code states that when an industrial property, or any property for that matter, is being developed with a non-residential use, property lines that are adjacent to residential uses must have a foot candle reading of 0.0 along those property lines. And then our code states that when properties are adjacent to non-residential properties, the foot candle measurement cannot exceed 0.2 foot candles. There were two photometric plans that had been provided, one for the parcel where the existing warehouse sits, and then one for the area where the substation and switching yard are. The photometric plan that was submitted for the existing warehouse facility shows photometric foot candle readings that are in compliance with the Unified Development Code requirements. And as the applicant identified in their presentation, there's a second photometric plan submitted for the substation and switching yard areas that did have some areas where it was found to be not in compliance with code. However, again, as mentioned with the stormwater study, the applicant is aware that that would need to be revised should this application be approved, and that is included as a stipulation, and that would need to be addressed prior to issuance of any building permits. The Unified Development Code does require that all ground or roof mounted equipment must be screened from public view, which in our code is defined as view from the public right-of-way or adjacent properties. The applicant is proposing 4 areas on the site plan where there is ground-mounted equipment shown, identified in the staff report as generator pods. Each of these pods would contain 15 generators along with their related equipment for them to be functional. Those are separated into pods of 15, 2 on the west side, 2 on the east side, and separated by the loading dock areas in the existing warehouse. This mechanical and electrical equipment will sit behind a screen wall that is proposed to be no less than the maximum height of the equipment that is proposed to screen it. That screening is a requirement of the Unified Development Code and has been stipulated that should in the built environment a view of the material not be covered by the concrete tilt up wall that is intended to screen it, that the applicant will be required to address that prior to any potential certificate of occupancy, again, should this come to be approved. With that information provided against Article 5.2 of the Unified Development Code and Article 10 of the Unified Development Code, staff recommends approval of the final site plan application FSP 2026-0002 Edgerton project as stipulated in the staff report. That concludes my presentation, and I will stand for any questions.
This application requires a public hearing. The City of Edgerton encourages public participation in local governance issues. During the public hearing, comments must be limited to 3 minutes per speaker, with the maximum time limit for all speakers during each public hearing being 1 hour. Speakers should state their name and address before making comments that pertain to the public hearing item. Speakers should address their comments to the Planning Commission members only and should not speak to fellow audience members during the public comment. Commission members will not engage in a dialogue or debate with speakers. Speakers and audience members should conduct themselves in a civil and respectful manner. Disruptive conduct may result in removal from the meeting. I will now declare the public hearing open. Before calling up the first speaker, commissioners, there is a packet of public comments provided at your seat that the city has received regarding tonight's agenda item. These will be included in the minutes, and Haley will read the names and addresses of each individual in the city, received comment from, along with a description of the comment, was in support, in opposition, or neutral in nature. Haley, can you please read the list of names from the cover sheet of the public comment packet?
The list is the same as stated earlier.
We will now move to the list of individuals who have signed up to speak for this application. Staff will read the list of names in the order that they signed up. Staff will also read the name of who is next in line so they can make way to the side. Staff, will you please begin with the first speaker signed up for this application?
James Oltman, followed by William LaFalce.
James Oltman, elevated Edgerton, 30750 West 193rd Street, Edgerton, Kansas. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the proposed site plan and project looking to locate within Logistics Park, Kansas City. And while doing that, I feel it's important to make sure that when you are considering the project, you can separate the facts from the fiction. First of all, the fiction, this project is going to use millions of gallons of water and drain our water supply. The fact is, technological advancements in cooling systems have accelerated at a rapid pace over the last 24 months. And this project is proposed to use a closed-loop cooling system. It will require a small fill at the beginning of use, and then it will not need substantial ongoing access to water. Once the facility is operational, their water needs are going to be less than a standard warehouse. Fiction, our electric bills are going to go sky high to pay for all of this, and regular customers are going to have to pay for all these upgrades. The fact is, in 2025, the Kansas Corporation Commission, which is the agency that regulates utility and energy services in Kansas, approved a new large load power service agreement specifically designed to protect regular customers from new massive electrical customers. This agreement specifically states that these new high load customers must pay for all the upgrades needed to a system for their project. They must sign long-term contracts, pay for a minimum threshold of power even if it's not being used, and pay up to 20% more than standard rates for regular customers, specifically protecting regular customers from increased rates and upgrade charges because of these type of projects. Fiction, the facility will not create any jobs. Fact, the facility will create a number of high-paying quality jobs that will be available for the residents of Edgerton and the surrounding communities.
Right.
Bullshit. These jobs will have higher wages than typically seen in most warehouse environments, with most positions averaging over 6 figures a year. The facility will provide no benefit to the Edgerton community. Fact, the facility will provide considerable benefit to the Edgerton community. In addition to the high-paying jobs mentioned, this facility will generate a significant amount of sales tax revenue for the Edgerton community. And with the recent passage of the new community sales tax dedicated solely to street and stormwater projects, those dollars will accelerate much-needed projects in areas specifically like the Horseshoe. I hope that you can objectively consider the request before you tonight and ultimately see the facts and reject the fictional narrative being established. Thank you.
Yeah,
Before
that
we
lies.
continue, I would
Sorry.
like to again request civility. These are our neighbors. Please show them the respect that we have also asked you guys to show. Thank you.
We would ask that you allow us to speak when you've allowed me to speak twice now.
Good point.
Wait, he was allowed to speak twice?
Madam Chair, everyone was offered the opportunity to sign up on either sheet. So everyone had the opportunity to sign up on either public hearing.
How many knew they could speak twice?
Yeah.
My name is William Falls. I'm a 30-year resident, 516 West 4th. Thank you for allowing me to speak. I get the perception based off your body language. You've already made the decision. So with that, what was it, 30 pieces? I mean, Christ was sold out for 30 pieces. So that's the question that comes to mind. If you're gonna pursue this, I think represent the community. You all need to resign en masse right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Removing you all from office, whether you're elected or appointment, or recall. And as a final gift to you, I think I'm gonna ask my friends in the Department of Justice to follow the money. Thank you.
Next is Donna Pierce, followed by Shane Meiser.
She left, I believe.
Shane Meiser.
He's already
Chauncey
spoke,
Wilkinson.
he's not gonna speak again, so you can take him off there. Thanks.
Chauncey Wilkinson, followed by Dawn Vestal.
Hello, I am Chauncey Wilkinson. I was born and raised in Edgerton. I live at 105 East McDonald Street. I grew up at 516 East 3rd Street, so I've been between your 2nd Street project, for the last year. My daughter attends Edgerton Elementary, and I serve on an advisory committee, as the school district works on rezoning our district boundaries. My current role is to help those, encourage them to come to Edgerton. There is a pushback of students who don't want to come to Edgerton, for various reasons. So my position is to show Edgerton is safe, it is clean, and it is a place to be proud of. For a long time, Edgerton has had an edge of the county reputation. Some people are like, oh, Edgerton, not really Johnson County, but we are. So I feel like myself growing up here, I've had to fight that particular reputation. We've been changing that. The projects at the playgrounds, Bull Creek Park, the new sidewalks, the green space are all making our community more welcoming, more livable, and something that we can be proud of. And the sidewalks and curbs on the 2nd Street are my current joy, so thank you for getting those two in our city. That is why I'm concerned. The data center feels misaligned with the direction that we are working so hard to go. Even though this project does use an existing building, the impact brings a very different idea from what the space has been before. I did have a chance to speak with the members of the project team. Many of them grew up and live in larger metro areas such as New York, Long Island, and Atlanta. And I don't say that as a criticism. I just don't feel that they understand how connected a small community is and why we are potentially upset about this change. I did ask them for comparable communities where similar centers have been built. Several of them had no comment. Chelsea, however, had two to provide. So I'd like to suggest some research into the communities to see how Miscellaneous, Texas, and Red Oak, Texas, are doing post-center arrival. She said those were comparable center sizes. Those communities also fought to have them there, so I'm curious to see what it's like now. This isn't just about development, it's about the long-term impact. The facilities run 24/7, bring continuous noise, high energy, and significant water use. The long-term health and environmental impacts are still not fully understood, which is an issue. We already know that chronic industrial noise, infrastructure strain can affect sleep and stress and overall quality of life. My parents live near the train tracks and closer to the core than most, and have had first-hand effect on sleep, noise pollution, and infrastructure challenges. I don't believe a small town like Edgerton or nearby communities should take on any more risks. Once such shifts happen, we cannot undo it. So, carefully consider.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I want to first apologize for my outburst. I didn't realize it was too mean.
That's okay, no problem.
My name is Don Vestal. I live at 612 West Hewlett, Edgerton, Kansas. I'm 72 years old. I moved here 25 years ago to retire in peace. That's all I want. It's my little piece of the project. That's it. I was an IBEW electrician for 42 years. Even though I may not have worked on a data center, I have worked on every piece of equipment that's in there. First, power distribution. Unless they're willing to pay the entire cost of the power distribution improvements to get the utilities in, I'm against it, because it will fall back to people on their rate increases. It's gonna happen. Everybody's gonna wanna get paid, and they're gonna get it whoever they can get it to. Water. I don't know the total gallons, it's been estimated at 500,000 gallons of water, I'm not sure. But they said it's a closed loop system. It is a lie if they tell you that it's a true closed loop system. I've worked on it. That water has to get cooled. It is done by industrial chillers. Those chillers require that you inject chemicals into that water to prevent rust and corrosion. Those chemicals are not treatable by your common waste treatment facility. They have to be handled as hazardous waste. My experience on that is on industrial chillers, as well as work for the railroad, where they have to do with chloride water. If you don't believe me, simply watch the movie Aaron Brockovich. I was raised for the first 20 years of my life in a town 13 miles from Hinkley, California. Hinkley, California, right now, 40 years later, is a complete dead zone because Pacific Gas and Electric released these anti-corrosive, rust preventatives into a cooling pin, and it was absorbed in the water system, which turned the entire town as well as some of the surrounding communities into a dead zone. It's simple. That's not treatable. Thirdly, taxes. I'm a big fan of paying my tax. Like I said, I'm about as American as you can get. I pay my taxes unless they come in and they pay the taxes, the full bill from day one, no abatements, no deferments, they need to be denied. Because that money belongs to us, not them. If they want to bring their company in, fine. I'm not against improvements, I'm not against advancements, I'm against people that don't want to pay their part. Okay? Last but not least, I don't want us to take up your time anymore. I'm starting to get upset. I'll either start crying or I'll get pissed with these guys. They'll put me out there. But I'll tell you one thing for sure. Here's the deal. I love this country. When you guys stood up and pledged allegiance, that made my heart feel good. And the thing I like about this country is that the people, the representatives don't represent the people. You can get rid of them.
Whoa.
Plain and simple. You cut off the head of the snake and you get rid of the people with the new people. That's my 2 cents. Thank you very much. Have a great day.
It's getting richer.
And Olivia Bacon.
All right, man.
I'm Olivia Bacon, 217 West McDonald Street.
Speak up, please.
Olivia Bacon, 217 West McDonald Street, Edgerton, Kansas. I moved here in 2021, the beginning of 2021, and I absolutely love this town. I love the fact that it was a small town and we didn't really have a lot of facilities consuming all our water at that time, or they planned to at least. And our water bill has gone up extremely. Like my husband complains about it every summer. He's like, we've got to water the plants, and our bill's gone up again. And it's concerning that I did do some research, and it says that over 5 years our water bill will go up 24%. That's a consistent average for towns like us that have data centers in their city limits or their town. I'm highly concerned that you guys all of a sudden brought this topic to us when it was already in the works in November. Clearly you guys have had a lot of time to plan out what was going to be happening and how to present it to us, but we were not given an opportunity to fairly seek out moratorium so where we could have this postponed, so we could find out more information, so we could come with even more details and more information to you guys to represent what we don't want, which is we do not want a data center in our community. We do hire you, we pay you. You guys are paid through our salaries. We pay your taxes. You are paid. You work for us. We do not work for you guys. And with that, we appreciate your consideration because we are the people that speak. And what you guys are to do as a position trusted by us is to act on what we request. Obviously, our city is opposed to this data center. Like, I've not talked to a single person. The amount of people who have shown up is clear. We don't want it. So why is it so easy for you guys to all this, like not even one person opposing this idea? Like, what is happening? This is insane. Honestly, I want to know the closed door, the closed door deals. We're curious about that. They came here supposedly after Gardner refused to give them any incentives. What are the incentives we're offering? I've never been told that. I haven't heard that. I know that they came to tell us about how great the data center would be or how unharmful it would be. But through my research, it's pretty clear there's pollutants in the water that there's pollutants in the water. They are called PFASs, forever chemicals, that leak into our water sources and into our soil, posing long-term environmental risks. Thank you, Olivia.
I will now ask the applicant to address public comment that was made.
Thank you again, Chair Jeff Sweeten, Chairman Assistance.
Who is this
In
guy?
regard to the site plan approval process.
Speak up.
Yeah, who
In
is it?
regard to the site plan approval process that we're currently going through, I just want to emphasize that we are meeting the bulk regulations of the requirements of the LP district. Is under consideration tonight. The public water supply and the public sanitary sewer supply is in place that serve the existing building is adequate to serve the proposed facility as well. And again, the electrical infrastructure that's being brought in is being brought in as part of what is the development that we're going through tonight. Other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
What is he?
I just want to say thank you very much for your time, your consideration.
Speak up a
and
little bit, please.
I'd like to thank you for your
Thank
time,
you.
consideration, and discussion this evening. And just one point of clarification, we're not affiliated with, the other projects that have been discussed recently, Gardner, DeSoto, et cetera. So, thank you very much, we appreciate your time, and we look forward to continuing the partnership.
Will staff please address public comments?
Can we just have 1 minute, Chair? Madam Chair, just a couple of clarifications of, the team members mentioned, I just want to clarify for those in the room. This project is not associated with any of the other projects that have been talked about before. This is not them moving from a different, this is not the company that was in Gardner, this is not the company that was in
Doesn't
Spring
matter,
Mills,
we don't
that's
want
what's
it.
saying out loud. The second piece is, there were, in anticipation of the conversation tonight, we anticipated that there would be questions about data centers that are not typically handled during the site plan process, right? The city attorney reviewed what a site plan is and what that process is, and the things that is the city's job to review in that site plan. We knew there would be questions outside of that, so we included a lot of information in the planning commission packet in anticipation of those questions. That included from other sources, like from the representatives of Evergy, obviously from the frequently asked questions from the DMAC digital team. And so I just would reference those pieces of information, right? So like questions about the energy uses, that's not for city staff to review. So I recognize that there are a lot of other questions that are out there that are really outside the scope of the city's role in all of this. I think maybe what would be best is, I'm sure you all have a lot of discussion to do. City staff would be happy to stand for questions. I know the project team would as well, as you all work through your discussion, if there's something in particular you want us to address.
Commissioners, do you have any specific questions for either the applicant or city staff?
I've got a couple questions. For the applicant.
Go ahead, Adam.
Okay, so, I mean, as so many people actually talked about, do we have any kind of decibel ratings or anything that can be, given to us, in regards to what this, what the cooling systems and the backup generators and everything else are going to put out? Or better yet, just the cooling systems by themselves? What kind of decibel, readings are we going to hear? Is there any information in regards to footage? How far away you're gonna hear anything? Is there any information at all that you guys can provide in regards to that?
Yes, absolutely. So we will be complying with all applicable zoning code, and there is discussion of that in the code. We will be complying with that. And, our data is based on, industry data and, specifications from our manufacturers for the equipment that will be.
Answer the question.
Yeah, that's not the decibels. What is the number of
Okay, I
decibels?
couldn't hear anyway.
So no number.
That-
Not an answer.
That's not,
Adam, did you have other questions?
That's on phase 1.
Yeah, so we're not going to provide any kind of numbers here, correct? We're not gonna give any
No,
kind
she
of
sat down.
information in regards to this?
Yeah, she's gone.
She said, correct, Adam.
She has no number.
Okay, alright, cool, so we're not gonna bring any actual data to this kind of hearing, alright?
Right.
Understood.
Thank you. Whoever you are, yes.
Okay, actually, you know what, I do have one more thing. So if you guys don't have a number, how are you guys going to pertain to our code? And do you know
Exactly.
our numbers within our code, or are we just gonna kind of play it by ear here?
Yeah. I'm gonna wing it. Like,
And that is,
you got an answer?
Throughout this process, we continue to work with our acousticians on applying the requirements of the code and not only meeting those requirements, where possible, exceeding them. But it is a process.
No.
Okay.
What's the number?
Question. I would like to hear a number because you guys
Yes.
should, whatever these data centers say, have some kind of audible reading because that does pertain to noise pollution. So you need to provide data because if you guys have to understand something. If you're on the back end of this and you're trying to dig yourself out of a hole, so bringing actual information to this might be a good thing. So
Yeah.
if you can't provide a number, that gives me all the information that I need.
All right.
Charles Renner with S. Blackwell, I'm happy to have that as well. We've reviewed the city's code as it relates to noise emanation. It's essentially protected based on distance to residential properties, impact of any industrial use on the noise, within the city. And we're confident that we will, one, be underneath of the code and we'll make adjustments.
No, I want a number.
The man asked for a number.
The code does not provide
Okay,
for
no,
a number.
everybody just let him speak. We all need to be good here. Let's all be respectful. Now,
Yes, sir.
you're providing me information in regards to residential, but within our code, we also have commercial. So that's
Correct.
why, do you guys understand that we do have
Yes,
a
sir.
decibel rating?
Yes, sir.
With
And
commercial?
we're confident that we will be underneath
What is it?
the way your code structures noise emanation.
What is
Both
the
in
date?
commercial and as it relates to impact on any residential areas. And the nearest residence in singular, as I understand, is in excess of 1,000 feet from the industrial site.
At all times?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
The nearest adjoining commercial property is 134, so.
No, I understand
That
that,
should be
sir.
up for
Yes.
discussion, because as a neighbor, you know, do you wanna hear somebody's lawnmower running 24/7? I personally don't, so, you know, it's something that needs to be taken into consideration, that it's not just the residential, we're also dealing with people that work in nearby areas that aren't very far away that we also have to think about.
No, I respect and understand that, sir. What we've done is evaluate the code and understand, and we will, with respect to everything else that we've done here, follow the city's requirements. And we're confident that this project will be underneath of your noise ordinances.
But what is the number?
Adam, anything else?
Come on, Adam.
I guess I do have some slight questions. It's kind of on the borderline. Now, floor drains and everything else within your building, is any of that connected to city sewer? Any kind of floor drains within the warehouse area where the data center is gonna be itself?
No, they will not be connected to the public sanitary sewer system.
Where does it go currently?
They are currently.
Adam?
Currently they are. Do they know that?
So there's no floor drains that are currently discharging to the city sewer, mainly because, you know, it's great that you're wanting to use a closed loop cooling system, that's fine, but, you know, we also have to mitigate risk to the actual taxpayers here, of any kind of potential spill, because, I mean, this is a fairly large data center, you're gonna have a lot of liquid cooling lines running, I mean, you know, you're gonna have miles and miles and miles of liquid cooling lines, so, you know, granted, it's not necessarily within the scope of the final site plan, but at least have some questions in regards to any kind of, let's see, any kind of protections in regards to any kind of spills maybe possibly getting into our stormwater system or our sewer system? Are there any probabilities of that?
There are existing floor drains in the building that are currently in the building. With the repurposing of the building, those floor drains cannot discharge to the public sanitary sewer system.
Alright, so they're gonna be closed off?
Correct.
Yeah.
What about the heat of it? Have we talked about heat?
Alright,
How hot it's gonna
I
be?
guess, how many facilities does DAMAC actually have operating right now, currently, that are roughly the size of the Edgerton project?
They told me 0.
They told me 0 in the US.
Oh.
This is the first. Hold on, Adam, hang on, please.
Yes, we have data centers around the world, including Southeast Asia, Europe, and
In the US.
we have no current operating data centers in the United States.
Sorry.
Adam, any follow-up?
Okay, so with that, I guess, out of these data centers that are not within the continent of the United States, are they roughly the same size, bigger, smaller?
They all vary in size, every project is different.
Okay, I mean, it's understandable, but, is there any way to get any kind of, I mean, now, are all of these using a closed loop system, or are they evaporative cooling, or is there any kind of, resemblance to what you guys are wanting to build here within Edgerton?
There are a variety of cooling technologies that we employ across the portfolio. I don't think there's an apples to apples comparison to be made, unfortunately.
Well, I mean, there's apples to apples, because if you have closed loop systems operating elsewhere, we would, we would also like to see what your actual water usage is. Even though you have a closed loop system, we do have data that you could bring to the table to actually give us, to actually show that we are, not going to use up your water or anything like that. So, data is great, especially when it's a data center, piece of information to bring to this. So, alright, so we're not gonna bring anything like that. We're not gonna have any kind of information on what, what these other data centers might use, correct?
That was not within the scope of this application.
What?
It's not?
That was not within the scope of this application.
But you have no answer. How can you not have an answer to something?
Push dams just like they did with, tried to do with the asphalt.
Adam, any other questions before I open it up to?
Let me double check back my list here.
Come on, Adam.
What about heat? Can we talk about how hot it's gonna be?
Alright, I guess
How hot?
with the combining of the 3 plots, now being one, are you guys trying for any future expansion? Or is this just going to be, is the building's gonna be it? And I guess the other question is, on top of that, is, let's say the closed loop system doesn't work and isn't as efficient as you'd like, especially with your mentioning that, you're just starting with this technology. Do you guys have anything written in where you guys can backtrack to an evaporative cooling or anything like that? Or are you guys dead set on the closed loop and that will be the only option for cooling?
And I very much appreciate the question, Commissioner, but I don't believe that's within the scope of this application.
Yes, it is.
I'll ask, to make that determination.
What? Why aren't they answering questions? They should know this, right?
Well, I guess, I think that gives me all the information I need. I appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, they're shady. Shady. Good job, Adam, though. Adam's not shady.
I saw that we had stormwater runoff surveys and studies prepared here. I know the Army Corps of Engineers started a study for the data center impact that was recently withdrawn from Gardner. I would like to see that report come to fruition and see what their study shows for impacts of a business like this, since it's the first one to come this way. Since, I'll get my notes read sooner or later. If the first one gets approved, more than likely others will come, and I'd like to see their hydrology report on this kind of impact and how much our watershed can actually handle.
I'm not sure I'm familiar with the study that you're talking about, if that's the question directed at us.
Why not? You should know that.
The Army Corps of Engineers working with the Water Office on a wastewater study. I don't know if that's the one that you're referencing.
I believe they were working on wastewater and runoff study, yes.
Okay, so the scope of that study is really related to wastewater and how to do future wastewater in this area, and is not, the direct correlation doesn't exist between, I don't think it wasn't driven by data centers, it existed long before data centers. It really was not related to particular industries, it was related to finding wastewater solutions for long-term in the Hillsdale Lake watershed.
Okay. I learned. Okay.
You should probably start a study.
We also did do a preliminary site plan, is that because the preliminary was approved as the warehouse setup that is now being modified to this.
So our code allows for procedures if they provide all the information that is required to hold their public hearing on draft and preliminary. If they choose to do it at the final, then all of the information that would be required on a preliminary site plan has to be included in that final site plan. So one public hearing would be required regardless of if they chose to do preliminary and final, or go straight to final with all the information required.
The reason I was asking is I've been on here long enough, we usually do a preliminary and a final, and this one was straight to final. I know we've done some that were just straight to final before, and this,
Especially as an existing building, it's not unusual for applicants to go straight to final site.
This is a different
But
kind
it
of
still requires the
building.
holding of a public hearing. So that public hearing component, which actually is not, as the city attorney said, is not statutorily required. It is simply a transparency measure that the city of Edgerton does. And so by doing that, then it allows for that public, and requires that public hearing at either preliminary or final.
I've got a question about the generators. Saw a lot about, the noise just for normal day-to-day operations. But it is very clear, those I'm in healthcare, so we test our generators. You guys are going to test your generators. Again, first one in the US, can't compare apples to apples, but about how often in your other centers are those generators being tested?
Absolutely, so generators are tested monthly, and our runtime is limited by the EPA, which is administered, obviously comes down from the federal government, is administered locally. And that runtime will be, for each generator about hour or so a month, in order to make sure they're turning on, make sure they're running correctly, and, that they're ready in the case of an emergency.
Are they ran concurrently, or is it gonna be one and then one and then one? Because I think I'm hearing 15 per pod, right?
60
So
total.
one pod at a time will run for an hour.
Sure.
And
I could, sorry, I can defer.
I can speak to it, so they'll be tested. Hello, Dave Barbees from Zap Digital. So, yes, they typically test it per lineup, so typically there's 6 generators per lineup. So you can do 6 generators at a time. If not, you can do multiple lineups at a time to depend on how you want to test it. It doesn't have to be singularly tested. It can be tested in multiple different ways, however it makes sense for overall, noise regulations and so forth.
And this would occur during business hours at a pre-scheduled time.
The other piece is the generators, from what I'm seeing, are skirted, which, I mean, we love that we can't see them from the road, but I'm not seeing anything on top clearly. So what is the environmental air quality with those generators being tested monthly?
Sure, so there are certain issues associated with diesel gas generators. They're typical of, the industry standards. We are, I don't know if this answer, but we are gonna follow the EPA standards with regard to them. They have studied and are in review of the operational run times.
What if you don't
and
follow it?
calculations. Those are, in review, and so we don't have that final, regulation.
So they're in review, you guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay,
The EPA
okay.
has them.
Okay. And is that something that we could maybe have before, like, occupancy?
Of course,
or-
yeah. Yeah.
If I'm saying, so we can't install generators until the EPA has reviewed it, the
Okay.
state has reviewed it, and they have to approve the permit prior to us installing the generators and ancillary foundations for that generator.
Similar to other pieces that they would go through an application and permit process through other agencies, so like when they do land disturbance, they have to submit applications to KDHE. KDHE approves that, then we do our process. For generators, they submit through the EPA, also then, which is actually designated in Kansas to KDHE. KDHE reviews that information and then they issue a permit. All of that has to be in hand before we do.
Okay.
And if I may, so this is not a new permitting application, so this application, that process has been, the Clean Air Act has been ongoing since the sixties. So, diesel generators have been ongoing for a long time. This has been regulated by EPA and the state. We have to follow those guidelines or we don't have to work. So,
As a citizen, 60 generators just sounds like a lot. So I just wanna make sure, that, like.
And then in an emergency.
I think I heard somebody, it sounds like saying, kind of, what are those other checklists?
And the
Like, who else
pollution.
is, signing off on this, so that's good information to have. Adam, were you trying to say something?
Yeah, so, I mean, most likely these generators are a gen set, it's a prefab gen set that you guys are gonna purchase, so we can't necessarily act like we don't have the information, especially in regards to noise levels of these gen sets, because most likely, I'm gonna say that these are probably already manufactured and will come to you as a whole unit, so, do you guys have any of the decibel ratings on what each one of those generators is gonna put out during testing?
So we do have the data sheets in relation to the manufacturing specification. However, the, site, there are components of site design that will happen during, later phase of the project that will take into account other noise attenuation and positioning and screening and other components of that design.
Didn't
Answer the question.
The reason why we're not bringing decibels into this area is, this is an initial site plan application, right? We're still finalizing some equipment selections. We have to finalize those equipment selections, have our acoustical engineer run those readings to make sure that it is adequate to the community and to the surrounding neighborhoods. And we're committing to making that right to the people.
It's just a bunch of words.
That's why Charles,
It's all that
he
says,
stated
it's a bunch
we're
of
confident that we'll make it work. We still have to go through
Yeah.
that rigorous equipment selections and finalize it so that we can run those acoustical studies to understand everything is according to the codes and regulations. Hopefully that.
And that's fine.
Yep.
That's fine, but you also have to understand that if you're gonna bring this stuff to the table, you actually have to bring it to the table, because we can't come here with hopes and dreams. We're not coming to the table with unicorn parts here, and if you guys are gonna actually come out and request a final site plan, you guys should also have the information and especially the equipment that you guys are gonna use so that you can provide your neighbors with actual noise pollution, we actually do have noise pollution requirements, and we all have concerns about it, so bringing that information to the table beforehand would probably have been a better option, instead of coming to a final site plan and saying we're still trying to finalize details, especially with good school engineers. So, I mean, just a suggestion from a lowly planning commissioner, but.
heat,
anything else?
talk about the heat.
That, I'm good.
Talk about the heat.
Jeremy, anything else?
Hard to follow up on Adam.
The heat.
Sorry.
Thank you, Adam, thank you guys. Can I ask for just one more clarification, reiteration on what we are getting ready to vote on?
Okay, yeah, well, you have, like you did before, a sheet with three motions, I believe, three options. To do approve, deny with reason, or, request information, or, I forgot, but it's. Third one.
Table with direction.
Table with direction, okay. Specifically, I mean, approve is approved, so you guys know that. Deny would require the reasons, and I'll point to, if you're looking for your guidelines here, this is, in site plans and design standards in Article 10 of your development code. 10.1 subsection 8 has the standards for approval. So, and that's kind of misnomer because it's for both approving or disapproving a site plan. So you've got 8 factors that you can use as standards, and I think that's what you're directed to look at. So I would say the best thing to do if you're needing you're gonna move to disapprove this, that one of those, or however many of those factors you think are short of the mark should be listed specifically or addressed. And then if you have tabling for information, that certainly can be, I think that's more open because this is a process where you guys are supposed to be informed about what you are deciding on. So if you wanted additional information, you can make that request. I think the only limitation is that it has to be, again, a reasonable request, and there has to be some, call for the information, meaning that you have a standard that applies that you're gonna look at. So, for example, I guess I would say that there's nothing here about how much, Evergy's gonna charge for energy in this thing. That's not one of the standards here, so asking for that necessarily wouldn't be within the boundaries of what the site plan request is. But if you have a specific thing about, the lighting plan, if something about that doesn't work and you need information about that, that's a position you can take. So that's the guidelines of that last one. Okay, so does that make sense to you guys? Okay, so that, just looking at subsection H, you'll have your standards there. And I'm glad to answer any questions about the specific standards too, if you need a background on those.
And Zach did have a few comments from the previous one that he was withholding. I was hoping to hear those too.
So I thought that I covered a lot of the questions in my initial staff report and presentation. I know there's one about the max buildings. The only max number of buildings that we have now is what was provided in the application, with the one existing and 3 proposed small new ones. And then I think there was a question about megawattage. I'd have to defer to the applicant on megawattage.
Table and do a moratorium.
Yes. Table moratorium. They can't do that? You can't? They can't do it? How come? That's what I'm saying. He's like shaking his head like, no, that couldn't happen.
They can't give us numbers, why say yes?
That's what I'm saying. They know nothing. And then you guys will have to sue them.
Your discussion has to be out for everyone. So, this is your opportunity between you and yourselves. So.
I think everybody sees where I was headed with this, but,
Adam,
we can discuss amongst their, sorry, go ahead.
So, yes, I think everybody sees where you were going with that. My question back to you would be, where would it fall within those 8 categories of a final site plan? Because
So
if
it's
we're
actually
going,
going to fall, it's actually gonna fall within Article 5 of what this actually is. Now granted, this is all under what they consider warehousing and part of the logistics park district. Now, within that logistics park district under 5.2, the purpose is also to limit vibration, noise, smoke, pollution, fire, and explosive hazard and glare, and yada, yada, yada. So we do have to take that into consideration, that noise pollution is a pollution that we do need to worry about, within the logistics park. Now,
so then I think we could, under section 5.2, ask for additional information, if that's what you are proposing.
well, let's see here. Because the other thing we do have to consider is that, under a conditional use permit, which this does not necessarily pertain to, under a conditional use permit, if you actually look, let me find it here again, I believe it was 7 dot, I lost it. Under a conditional use permit, kind of like we've had to deal with the rock crushers and whatnot, where, you know, things that did cause a lot of noise, we've had to discuss in the past. Their requirements under the conditional use permit is 60 decibels in a residential, in an adjoining residential area, or 70 decibels on a commercial adjoining area or property. Now, that nearest property is 134.19 feet away according to Google Maps, so, you know, that, you know, although we're residents and we're neighbors to the west, they're also gonna have people working in the buildings directly to their east that, you know, do fall within the city of Edgerton, so we do need to consider them.
But it's
and
not a
consider all of that
conditional,
in our.
but Adam, it's not a conditional use permit.
Oh, no. Yes, and I fully understand that, so, I guess on that note, I guess pertaining to Article 5 and Article 2, I would motion to deny this request for the data center.
Hang on, Adam, hey, Adam, hang on, please.
Adam, if you could, this is City Attorney Todd Luckman. I was pointing to subsection H. There is no provision for importing zoning controls into this. If you have a subsection of H that applies here, that would be what we need as far as a motion in this instance to deny.
But we could request additional information under the other.
Yeah, if you believe that there's information you need about that, but I'm understanding that the city's own code says the approval standards are these. It doesn't mention compliance directly with zoning requirements that you mentioned. It mentions comprehensive plan and city policies, landscaping, all that. I'm trying to figure out, I don't know what, you're talking about noise.
Well, what I'm talking about is that under logistics park, it's actually, with the current zoning under the logistics park, I mean, we do come back to, you know, I'm making the example that we would need a conditional use permit for things that produce anything over 70 decibels in an adjoining commercial property, which, you know, if we do have that within the current zoning of the property, so I'm not necessarily saying that, you know, it is a zoning issue, but I am pointing out the fact that they do fall under that current zoning issue with their building and the final site plan. I mean, you know, we all do need to follow the guidelines, correct?
Well, I don't understand your distinction, because you're saying that this use does not fit within the logistics park use?
Well, I'm just bringing up the fact that if they're not gonna give us any decibel ratings and give us any information besides we're gonna try to do better, you know, the only thing we can fall back on is what this area was actually zoned for previously, which in writing has it 60 decibels in residential and 70 decibels at commercial adjoining property. So, you know, does that not pertain our current zoning that this building is under? None of that pertains to this, correct?
That, well, pertains to it, but you haven't, this is not a test, this is not a hearing about whether or not they fit within zoning. This is a hearing on a site plan. A site plan that they have yet to
I
build.
understand that.
Well, and
But
that's,
that's also some of the actual number and information that we have to actually go off of with this, within our UDC codes.
well,
I mean,
But what we
you know,
have under our UDC codes, they have met.
yeah, that's my issue is you're importing standards that the city does not recognize in its codes for site plans.
We're not talking like permitting, and we're literally talking about the site plan.
If it turns out that they are violating the zoning restrictions after the construction, then they can be cited for that.
You have to
City
sue
code
them.
violation. Just like anybody else,
They're
if
scared.
they start
They're not scared of it.
operating, if they're home, they start operating a home business.
Yeah, that's,
and they
or
don't comply with
we-
that,
Edgerton will have to
shut
sue
down.
them.
So that's an
Yeah.
entirely different question.
No, oh yeah, that is true.
all right, understood on that one.
Is he like for it? The guy in the black? Is he?
Any other questions?
Well,
Adam?
go ahead.
No, any other questions?
No, I'm good on that one.
Well, there was a motion made.
Sorry.
I think it was,
Alright, well,
you wanna withdraw the motion on the record?
yeah, I'm going to withdraw my motion currently as I think about this.
Yeah, why don't we table it or
All right.
whatever and move and not make a decision?
Now that we have concluded our discussion of this item, I would entertain a different motion for this application. There are potential motions for this application provided for you in handout on the dais for this application. As a reminder, the planning commission is the deciding body for this application.
I wanna know what Big Red has to say. He's saying nothing. Yeah, what's he, I feel like he's
In that case,
a sneaker.
make a motion to table this
I don't
until
know.
the numbers that Adam asked for can be provided. And the last gentleman that was up here speaking at the podium said they were in the initial, gathering stages for equipment and stuff like that, and this is final site plan, when all that shit should have been figured out.
There you
I will second.
Again, that's zoning related, so is this a legitimate motion?
Well, if this says final and they say initial, nobody's on the same page, so I would say.
No, this is a final site plan, not zoning.
They were in the initial phase of, initial stage of
But we're
getting
not
the
just
equipment.
zoning. Like,
It's already
we
zoned
passed
as,
it, like,
this is not a zoning.
I
This is
know,
like,
but
if
what
the-
you
if
guys
the-
are
We don't
asking
want
for
this.
is zoning. Why are you guys? I don't know if it's a legitimate.
Yeah, well,
motion.
I think the question, you were general in your statement, which is just what Adam wants. I think maybe there needs to be some clarity about exactly what are you saying in this motion that you wanna see evidence of the fact that they would be within, at least the planned construction items, would be within the decibel levels required of the LP district? Is that what the motion is, or the request is?
We just don't want this.
I mean, what standard are we using?
The standards that, Commissioner Drastovitz referenced are in the, CUP portion of the LP district.
Okay. I'm
They are
sorry.
not in the standard section of the LP district.
Okay,
Just
so those
wanted-
don't apply.
Correct.
And so is there any decibel level standard?
There is not.
Okay, so a request for decibel level is probably outside of your.
Are you
request.
serious? You're kidding? How, what?
But,
Does,
A lot of pissed off people here.
I'm sure they regret ever being on that little commission.
I think the difficulty here,
Big red.
I'm Commissioner Ray Somer, community volunteer, by the way. I've been paid the equivalent of a t-shirt. So, a little clarification, but, I'm not an attorney, but I've understood for the last 2 hours where we were gonna end up here. And it is that we're all a lot uncomfortable with a lot of things, here. And yet, what's placed before us, even if it feels like we're backed into a corner, we don't have a statute to lean on for, even so much as tabling, much less, a denial. That's our role, that's our role, we're not
Be
a
the
governing
hero.
body, that is our role.
Can you table it and then ask for guidance?
It's not a discussion with the planning commission with respect.
I'm speaking loudly to my fellow commissioners so that you all understand the position that we're put in as well as you. And,
well, I think, if I could, there is a motion in a second. I'm guessing that, what the vote will be, but I still think if it's fairly presented, it should be voted on. And,
Don't know.
well, yeah, so.
Just deny it.
I'm anticipating what the vote will be, there's gonna be a tie.
Doing the right thing isn't always easy.
I don't even know how to vote on it.
No, yeah. and
Like, I don't know
Because
what
they don't
the-
like
I don't understand the vote if it's not.
Can we get the motion repeated to us, please?
Certainly. The current motion is that Commissioner Little moved to table the application until the decibel readings can be provided.
Okay. So, that motion was second.
Correct.
There was no clarification of that because it didn't meet a standard. So the question is whether the chair will accept that motion in second because of the fact that it is not set to a standard in the code.
I can't accept it if it's not part of the standard.
Okay. So you're ruling that the motion is out of order. So, okay. So at this point, then, floor is back open.
We can just go all night.
The statute. Right. If there is something, and Adam, I hope you can hear me. If there is
I
something
can hear you.
within the statute before us that we can say we need more information on, I will support I will support that. But go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt, Chair. Adam, for your information, I shared the standard of approval that, the city attorney had mentioned, that's in the section related to site plans, just so that you had the same information in front of you and for all planning commission members and members of the public. So, those 8 standards that Tom was talking about.
But what is before us tonight is a site plan, like, the application before us is for a final site plan. We have 3 options: to approve it, to deny it with cause, or to table it requesting additional information along those standards.
Again, sorry, it's not a discussion between the audience and the planning commission.
Yeah, but we gotta live with it. Just saying.
Respectfully, my question about the PFAS chemical
Again,
was never,
sorry,
it
no
wasn't
question.
answered though.
Very cool.
Unfortunately, it sounds like we're back into the corner here, just like what was said earlier, so, kind of at a slight impasse.
You have an obligation to your constituents, find a reason.
Please.
So that's the reason we are all in a tough position, because we're not city council, so we have a harder way of doing things.
City council's been bought.
Well, yeah. She has. Little Miss Maroon over there.
Well, at least it's on our stamp.
It's not, you've read it.
Nope, it is, landscaping is.
No, it is, but it's not.
Why are they both wearing? Do they like match on purpose? Sorry. No one wants it. That none. I don't think any of them want it. I know.
Can you choose someone of none of the above? It's legit.
Dad, it might as well use AI.
Oh my gosh. None of the above. I like.
If I could prevail upon the commission for a little bit, just to make you guys not trying to politic or anything, I'm telling you why. This is about the rules that you create, okay? And the reason that these things are put in this book and published and put out there is so anybody, whether it be DMAC or your neighbor, can come in here and they know the rules. And they know what to submit to you when the time comes, and that they're not gonna get the rug pulled out from under them by adding things that you guys think are important at the time. That's not the way the law works, that's not the way our system works. We provide clear statements about what we want, and if you meet those standards, you should get the chance to proceed. And that's why we're focusing so hard on these standards of approval, because we basically said to all parties who come in, this is what we expect of you. Not more, and you can't bring us less, you've gotta bring us this stuff. And that's why we're honing in on this, and we need a reason for that. And if you can't find a reason for that, they've essentially shown that they comply. So.
That's criminal.
They've shown us what?
How they can comply?
It's criminal, you can't say no. It's our city.
Right. It is. I mean, I'm in Gardner.
We should have a right to say no. It's our city.
So if you say no, then you just get sued, right? Let's have some balls and let's just say no.
Saves them the money for that.
Are they, take the money from the mayor. I mean, just saying. Go big or go home, it's, no. Bless their hearts.
Madam Chair. I'd like to make a motion that with the absence of any statute-based denial or statute-based direction given to staff, that we approve application PP 2026-0001. I'm sorry, the other flash, yeah, 02. According to city staff's advisement.
What is this, what,
Do I have a second?
what does this mean? What does that mean?
Would you like me to repeat the current motion?
Yes, please.
And before we do that, I want a point of clarification. Did you mean to say code section? Because it technically isn't a statute, it's the city code.
That's right.
Okay, so it's city code.
The current motion on the table is in the absence of any code section based for denial, the motion to approve with the stipulations outlined by city staff.
Oh, what does that mean? They're gonna. Let's just sit here all night.
Do I have a second?
No. No. No.
Chair fails.
Yeah, that's a good point. You can second without having to vote for it. I mean, that doesn't require you to vote for it. I don't know if the chair.
It's still a vote. No, you don't have to. Like,
Let it die.
yeah, let it die.
Let it
The
die.
chair's decision about.
I know, but that's our neighbor.
What are you saying, guys? It's public hearing.
You invited the public in here. Public comment is welcome.
Well, she's not saying.
Scheduled public comment.
I think it's because they're like talking over there.
Can I ask a question of staff?
Yeah, what are you
All right,
saying
so
over here with the lawyer,
Will
Missy?
will any of this go to the governing body?
We are the voting body, Adam.
Okay, so once we approve, nothing they're going to do is actually going to go to city council or anything, correct?
They will have to file a future plat, but this application, the deciding body is the planning commission.
Just say no.
That's okay. Adam, did you hear me?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
Sure. So for the final site plan, planning commission is the deciding body. But because the planning commission approved the final plat, if this one would get approved, then the applicant would be required to file a final plat. That final plat has to come back through planning commission and through city council, but there is no public hearing required for that item.
No.
Alright, well, at least we've heard, sorry, go ahead.
No.
Well, we do have a motion on, but so the chair's got a rule on whether he's probably.
No, say no.
No second, and
I mean, if I don't have a second, it's gonna die and we're gonna have to go for another motion.
Go for another.
I'll have to, unfortunately, probably motion to second this because it sounds to me like we don't have any other options.
The guy who's not here in the room.
So
I
are
hope
you
all of you have
seconding
plans
it?
come November.
Are
Well,
you
they're not.
seconding it, Adam?
They.
I will second the motion.
I don't know.
Mr. Little,
You don't have to do it.
No.
Mr. Sommer,
Don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
Oh wow. Wow.
Mr. Dreskovich,
No.
Okay.
Ms. Mathis?
Yes.
Oh, blessed.
Motion fails to pass.
Okay, another option may exist. If there is a question about the engineering design of generators, and I'm presuming that would be all aspects of that, including noise levels. I don't know myself, but I'm assuming that. It says, section 5 says the plan is consistent with good land planning and site engineering design principles. Site engineering design principles may be wide enough for you to request information about those to satisfy the question that was originally done. Again, the fact of the matter is that depending upon what they say, there is no ultimate zoning standard that would apply, so you're just gathering information for your own purposes, whatever they may be, but it is a way to address this.
Well, I mean, on that note, at least that would give us the information, and for their final, or, you know, we would at least have the information to give the city council as well. So, would that be technically under 5.2 then, correct? Or?
It'd be H5.
So, Adam, if I may interject here, that would be code section 10.1H, and then, 10.1H5.
So you're requesting information under that provision.
It should be on your screen too, Adam.
Okay, sorry, I've actually got the standard of it, okay. Okay, so under 5, alright. Alright, so really, at least that would give us some time to actually get proper information. I guess on that note, I'm gonna go ahead, let me pull up my proper thing here so I can say it right, because I'm just a lowly Edgertonian. Oh, it's Luther. Alright, so, I would like to make a motion to table the application FSP 2026-002 for the final site plan for Edgerton project, in regards to Section H, Bulletin 5. I'd like to get more information in regards to the generators, and anything to do with noise pollution, or any information that could be gathered on them for the land use. Am I wording that correctly?
That'll work.
The lawyer says okay, then it should work, right?
Can I get a second?
Second.
So what's the next?
Now we got thirds. Let's do this.
So we put
Mr. Deskovich?
That's essentially what's
Okay.
going on.
Aye.
Mr. Little?
Aye.
Mr. Sommer?
Aye.
Ms. Mathis?
Aye.
Motion to table has been approved.
When are they meeting next?
Will staff please describe the next steps in the development process for everyone in the room?
Yes, so now with the application table, it would have to come forward at a future planning commission meeting, where it would be discussed again amongst the planning commission for the final site plan only.
With no, there will not be a public hearing, because the public hearing was held tonight, that was closed. It will just be information presented to the planning commission members.
Oh, so the next
You can
one's
betray
no.
us in private.
Future
Right.
meeting reminder, June 9th, July 14th, and August 11th, all at 7 regular sessions.
we
The
need to
commission
come on
has
the
no
14th.
announcements.
To the meeting.
Staff, any announcements? Having no further items on the agenda, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make sure you collect your 30 gold pieces.
Second.
No, I have to have a
I'll make the motion, so you second it. I have a motion to adjourn.
Real excited.
Second motion to adjourn.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thanks, traders.
How deep in everybody's pockets are you?
Yeah, follow the money.
Yeah, that's for sure.